Hello, everyone. This is Eyde-Tucker, and I am your Florida homeschool advisor. And today we're going to go over how to write a counselor recommendation letter for your homeschooled student for their college applications. This oftentimes is a big burden for parents who are not used to writing this type of letter. And add to that the time crunch of college applications and senior year, and that can really make it feel super stressful. So, if you know me, my mission is to try to make this the least stressful as possible for you and to front load as much information to help you accomplish these tasks meaningfully and efficiently and in a way that will help your student with their college applications. So, the first thing I want to mention before we get started is that when you think about the counselor recommendation letter, um, there are some schools that will require that, and there are some schools that will not require that. One thing I recommend doing before embarking on the counselor side of the Common App is reaching out to the individual universities that your student is applying to and asking them if this section is indeed required by that in specific school. So in the email, you want to be very, very specific and ask the school, does the homeschooling parent slash school counselor of the homeschool need to complete the counselor side of the Common App? That's the question to ask. Okay, so the next thing, let's say that they reply and say, yes, we do require that homeschoolers have the counselor section of the Common App completed. Then that's going to mean that you are going to have to write a counselor recommendation letter because that's part of I call it the back end, the counselor side of the Common App. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how to knock out that counselor letter. And we're going to use AI. Because the truth of the matter is, and I want you to think like a counselor right now, is that your typical public school counselor has hundreds of students in their caseload, and they really are not able to get to know each student individually. So, what counselors will do is they will resort to information gathering methods to basically get from the students the most relevant information so that they can then create the letter. And now that we have generative AI, lots of times these counselors will, use that tool to lighten their workload, especially during college application season, because not only do they probably have, hundreds of students that they have to write letters for, but also there's a time crunch. So that's where this type of tool comes in handy. So I mention all of that because I want you to not feel guilty for using the same tool that school counselors might use to create this document. And really quickly, I just want to point this out and I'm going to put this link in the description of this video so you can download this yourself. But what counselors will ask students to fill out is something like this. This is from the Common App. This is a document that they have available that students can fill out. This is a questionnaire where students type in their information and then go through all of these questions one by one that ask them about their activities, about their events, their experiences, things that counselors would want to write about in a letter. What the student feels are their academic strengths that perhaps the counselor could speak to, and what major they are considering. And does the student have any particular preferences in terms of what colleges, universities, et cetera, they're applying to? Things that a counselor can speak to in the letter. And anyway, these questions are very helpful. And so I recommend you having your student complete this questionnaire because that will help you gather the same type of information that a high school counselor would gather from their students. So that's the first thing. Now, going to the AI portion of our conversation, one of the other things that's really interesting is that you can use AI to upload documents and with a specific prompt that I'm going to share with you, have the AI gather the information, ask you questions as the homeschooling parent about your student, and then generate a letter based on all of that information. The idea behind this is to create a document, kind of like a draft, a first draft that you can then go in and make better, right? Because you always want to use generative AI in a way where it's not the final product, right? It's always going to be like a first start, a good place to kind of get the thoughts flowing and enter into the work. But then obviously you, the human intelligence, will finish it off by, adding in all of those important touches that make it strong. So I'm gonna share my screen in just a minute and share with you the prompt that I created to go through this. So this is the prompt, and I'm going to read it to you in just a moment. But what I want to say, first of all, is that a link to this prompt will be in the description of this video so that you can access it yourself. The second thing I want to say is that when you access this prompt, you're going to want to go to File and make a copy. So when you make a copy for yourself, that means that you can then edit it, and then you can go in and change things that you'll need to change. And for example, you're going to want to change the name of the student, where they're applying to, what their GPA is, how many credits they currently have, things like that. You're going to want to change all that information. And in the, like right now, it doesn't show that, but when you do go to this, it's going to have placeholders for you to go in and make those changes. So you'll be able to find those easily. And then once you have made your changes on your copy of this prompt, then you're just going to copy and paste that into your generative AI tool of choice. So for me, my tool of choice is currently Copilot because I just have been using it a lot, and I like the way that Copilot uh, responds and produces writing that has the tone that I'm asking for. It seems to be really good with tone. But there are others. There's Claude, obviously there's the good old Chat GPT, etc. Right? And as a matter of fact, you might want to try this with a variety of generative AI if you have the time for that, right? But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this prompt. So here's what I wrote. I am the homeschooling parent of an exceptionally bright and capable student with a weighted GPA of 4.5 and 33.5 high school credits with another 7 credits in progress. Happy Homeschooler, that's the name I chose, is a dual enrolled student at Seminole State College, Seminole State Grindle Honors College. Happy is applying to MIT, Georgia Tech, UCF, UF, and University of Pennsylvania. Because Happy has been homeschooled throughout high school and will be graduating from my homeschool, I am required to write a school counselor recommendation letter for her college applications to the following selective universities. Will you please help me write this letter? I have uploaded Happy's current official high school transcript. I would like for you to ask me relevant questions that can help illustrate Happy's community involvement, academic success, leadership skills and experience, and love of learning. Additionally, review the transcript and please ask me questions about any specific coursework that would be helpful to include in a high school counselor recommendation letter. Please ask me these questions one by one and use my responses to generate a counselor recommendation letter. So I'm going to feed this prompt to Copilot, and then I'm going to show you how it responds. Before I do that, I just want to say that if you use this resource from the Common App, the brag sheet, and have your student fill this out, then you can also, change the prompt and say, additionally, I have included a questionnaire that my student filled out to help you generate questions, and also write the letter. So this prompt, you should just tweak it as you need because it's for you to do that. But just know that it's important to establish very key baseline information that this is a homeschooled student and that you are the homeschool parent and that you have to write a counselor recommendation letter. Those are the most important things. All right, so let's dive in. So here we go. I'm on Copilot and I am going to copy and paste. So I just pasted that whole entire prompt into the chat box here. And now I'm going to I'm also going to upload the transcript that I said I was going to upload, which is this one right here. Okay. And now I'm going to, okay, now it's thinking. All right. Thank you, Lupita. I have reviewed Happy Homeschooler's official high school transcript, and it's truly impressive. Her academic record reflects a rigorous and well-rounded curriculum, including advanced mathematics, sciences, humanities, and dual enrollment coursework at both the University of Florida and Seminole State Grindle Honors College. To begin crafting a compelling counselor recommendation letter, I'll ask you a series of focus questions one at a time to gather rich, personalized details that will highlight Happy's academic excellence, leadership initiative, community involvement, intellectual curiosity, personal qualities, and characters. Here's the first question. All right, can you describe Happy's most meaningful academic achievement or intellectual pursuit during high school? Something that showcases her curiosity, creativity, or depth of understanding. So I'm now going to respond to that. This is something you can answer real time when you are interacting with the chatbot. So I'm going to paste my response in here about my student, and then I'm going to hit submit. And now it's going to receive that and it's going to ask me the next question. Okay, so here's the next question. Can you share examples of Happy's leadership experience, either formal or informal? And so I have already prepared a little bit of a response to that. There's a lot that this student, the sample student that I'm using has done. So I am basically pasting that a bunch of information into here. Okay. So now it's responding to that and it's going to ask me the next question. What are some ways that Happy has contributed to her community, either through volunteer work, service projects, civic engagement, or other meaningful involvement outside of academics? So I'm going to say, because I included a lot of that in my previous response, and I'm going to say the information I already shared about her tutoring Spanish at the college and her involvement all 4 years of high school in the what was it called? The Student Government Association. Gosh, come on, fingers. At Seminole State College are the examples for this question. Okay, so I'm just letting it know that I kind of already answered that question and I feel like I don't have anything additional to say about that because I had already put a lot of that info in the previous response. Okay, so then, it's taking it all in stride. So now it wants to know about personal qualities or character traits that best define Happy. I have kind of already written something about that, so I'm going to copy and paste that in here. Now, when you're doing this, obviously, I expect you to spend a lot more time, right? Because you don't know the questions ahead of time. So, you can actually answer one question and then come back to it, right? Especially if you have like Copilot or one of those chat GPT type tools that allows you to keep that conversation going. So this conversation, like if I said, you know what, I don't really have time to answer this right now because I have to go make dinner, but later on I'm going to come back to it. You just kind of leave this open and come back later, right? Or you might want to, consult with your student, like, or you might want to consult with what your student wrote about themselves in the questionnaire, and then use that to kind of give you some ideas, or ask a family member to also chime in on what some of the answers might be. Like those are things that you can do with this, and it gives you the time so that you're not like trying to come up with these questions yourself, right? It's like an interview about your student. So I'm going to paste in what I already wrote just for the sake of time here. And now, okay, here we go. Is there anything else you'd like admissions officers to know about Happy, such as obstacles she's overcome, unique aspects of her homeschool experience, or future goals and aspirations? So let's see, her future goal is to work in aerospace as um, and make significant impacts in that industry through innovation and cutting edge technology. That's what the student wants to do, and she is going to be a scientist no matter what. Um, okay, that's just me off the cuff because I didn't have an answer prepared. This one actually, when I did a test run on this, it didn't ask me this question previously, so I'm slightly unprepared. But I just want to give it a response so you can see what comes next. Okay, let's see. Hopefully it's writing the letter. Yes, we've got a letter, people. Okay, so it is council recommendation letter for Happy Homeschooler. Um, all right, so basically, and it's still writing as it goes, but essentially what you're going to want to do is use this letter as your first draft for yourself, and then go through it and find places where you need to make changes, because obviously it does not know your student, and it might say something that may not actually be accurate or true, and so you need to make sure that you're going through to look for anything like that. But you also want to go through and say, it glossed over this one thing that actually needs to be a little bit more emphasized, so I need to add some more information here, and just kind of annotate the draft for yourself. And then that way you can kind of enter into this more revision mode instead of like drafting mode, drafting mode takes a lot of energy up front and can feel exhausting. But revision mode is a little bit less exhausting. So that's the whole goal of this, is to get you in the revising mode, um, that then can really make you feel like you have something that is already of quality that you can then tweak and adapt more to your specific student. Okay, so here we go. The letter is done. Now, what I love about, this thing is that it also asks you questions after it produces your first draft, like, would you like me to tailor it slightly for each university? So just for giggles, I'm going to ask it to tailor it slightly for each university and see what happens. Well, just to give you an idea. Okay, yes, please tailor the letter for each university. Um, but make sure it's um, each letter focuses on her desire to pursue aerospace engineering. Okay, because I don't want that detail to get lost at all. Wow, it's thinking a lot. Hmm. Okay, here we go. So, hmm. All right, so sometimes, um, sometimes the Copilot does interesting things. Like it says, "Oh, hey, I've actually formatted this into a document for you, and just download it here," instead of like spitting out the actual text from each document. So in this case, if you're like, "Thank you, but I would rather you share the text here in the chat." So I'm going to ask it to do that to see what happens. Okay, and then it's going to start giving me the text for each letter, specifically addressed to each school, um, here in the chat. So that is the end of this video. I hope this was helpful, or if anything, entertaining about how you can use generative AI to help you tackle some of these challenging tasks. Um, but remember, just to reiterate, you only want to do this if you absolutely have to. So first, reach out to each individual university that your student is applying to and ask them that question. Does my homeschooled student have to have the counselor side of the Common App submitted as well by me, the homeschool parent slash school counselor? That question is the one that's going to save you the time. So if you have any questions for me or comments, please drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments of this video. And if you need any help with anything else, please reach out. I'm happy to help. Thanks, y'all.